change. But what I want to draw our attention to first is the most glaring inequality, right? So instead of starting with, because we really only have 20 minutes, with how the study came about and all of that, the most glaring inequality is in the creator roles. And of course, we've seen massive improvements in supervising producer, whether or not it's a trend. Some really good improvement among executive producers, but that creator category just won't quit. And to me, it sounds a lot like that proverbial glass ceiling, right? So that women, as we all know, women in many industries reach nearly the top. And so there is this apparent equity when people are living their careers and pushing ahead, but then it's really hard to get to that last level of leadership. Very few women with 3 initials that we all covet, CEO, in front of them. Congratulations, Sharon. Congratulations, Sharon. Those are important initials for a reason. So let's talk about why not the creator, and what are the pressures against that growth for women in that space. And I'll turn to you, Sharon, first, since you really brought us all together.
I did. Thank you. And thank you all for being here. This is great to look out and see so many great faces that I know and love dearly. You know, it's funny, when you talk about like CEO or creator is very different than a CEO. Like a creator is a creative individual who has come up with an idea. I think we all know many, many creators who should never run a major company. I think that's safe to say. So it's really about why when we look at this research, are there so few women getting credit for creating? And one of the things that I really was thinking about, as you know, we're so lucky that press will hopefully write about this to get the word out. We had been asked a question to name a couple of shows created by women, and I'm like thinking in my own head, and I came up with Karen Smith in the UK, who she and a woman named Steph Harris created Lego Masters, which we got to adapt here in the US. And she also created Strictly Come Dancing, so what we know as Dancing with the Stars. And I said to Karen, I just want to make sure I'm right here, and I emailed her. And she was like, well, it's kind of funny. If I was a bloke, as she said, she's English, no one would even ask if the credit was right. And so part of that made me think like, oh, snap, that's probably true. Like, are we not getting enough credit when we are actually creating, and is that reflected in the research? And how do we, as bosses or leaders of our companies, do a better job of making sure that credit to hit that title gets shared? So I started thinking about, you know, how that is different from women to men, and how I do feel that women are more often to share credit. So that was one thing I thought of, that, you know, just making sure that you as a person think about that when you're in those moments, because maybe there are a lot of women who are creating that aren't getting credit for it. So that was kind of like my first thought. And second, it's, you know, it is hard to get in the door. And I think a lot of people here are like, well, I don't have an agent, I don't have a manager. You know, you're on that hamster wheel of how do I get access to pitch my ideas? And I think that is also a problem. How are we making sure that we're hearing from enough, you know, women creators that we can say, well, you know what, that idea might not be perfect yet, but if I pair you with this person, it's going to come together. Because we